Welcome to Crosspointe.
Welcome to Crosspointe.
Welcome to Crosspointe.
We are an inclusive faith community
seeking to live out the loving, just, and generous way of Jesus.
We are participants in a long tradition.
It's less concerned with doctrines and dogma that demand total agreement,
but a life to be lived, enjoyed, and given away to others.
What unites us is a growing awareness that life is precious.
That we are made by love in order to love.
This community is comprised of and affirms the entire human family.
Regardless of race, age, creed,
physical abilities, marital or economic status,
gender identity, or sexual orientation.
So, if you're curious and have come to see,
if you are tired and have come to rest,
if you are grateful and have come to share,
if you are wounded and have come to heal,
if you're joyful and have come to celebrate,
if you are uprooted and have come to belong,
welcome home.
Welcome home.
Welcome home.
Welcome home.
When your soul's weary, when you find out, when you can't hear me, lay your troubles down. In your dark moments, when your heart's weak, bring yourself broken, you will find me. Who wrote the rain? Who wrote the sun in? Who called your name? Where are you running? I'm gonna be there near or far. I'm gonna meet you where you are. Who wrote the rain? Who wrote the sun in? When you come thirsty, when the well's dry, when your soul's dirty, I am by your side. When your faith's broken, when you can't see, with my arms open, you will find me. Who wrote the rain? Who wrote the sun in? Who called your name? Where are you running? I'm gonna be there near or far. I'm gonna meet you where you are. Who wrote the rain? Who wrote the sun in? You carried all my shame. When you call my name, I am not the same. Who wrote the rain? Who wrote the sun in? Who calls your name? Where are you running? I'm gonna be there near or far. I'm gonna meet you where you are. Who wrote the rain? Who wrote the sun in? Who wrote the rain? Who wrote the sun in? We have sought the truth, we have felt the pain, even wandered beyond our faith in the name. We cannot pretend we are always okay. We cannot depend on fast food grace. So help me let you go. Help me give up control of the God I have made you when my fear has contained you. Help me let you go. Help me give up control of the God I have made you when my fear has contained you. When the way is unclear and the answer elusive, it is different by far than a broken conclusion. You are not the God that my pain has conceived. You are deeper and stronger than my eyes can see. So help me let you go. Help me give up control of the God I have made you when my fear has contained you. Help me let you go. Help me give up control of the God I have made you when my fear has contained you. Of the God I have made you when my fear has contained you. Help me let you go. Help me give up control of the God I have made you when my fear has contained you.
There are many ways we collaborate with each other to be the church we're called to be and to serve how we serve. And our contributing financially is one of the most important of those ways. If you want to help fund and sustain what we get to do together, go to crosspoint.org/contribute to see the many simple ways that you can do so. You can even text crosspointenc to 77977 to receive a link to get started now. Thank you for your partnership in the work we do together.
Write yourself off, yeah. It's only in your head you feel left out, looked down on.
Good morning, friends. Glad you could join us. And if joining us more tangibly in person is something that you're interested in, I want to remind you there are numerous ways to do that are actually already in motion. Whether you want to get involved in helping and serving others with us in the area, you want to check out opportunities to meet in smaller groups, you've got options. So check out crosspoint.org/serve and crosspoint.org/groups and let us know what you want to do. We are happy to help. Operators are standing by. Next week, we're going to start a new series that highlights some of Jesus' parables. And it's called True Fictions. I think it's going to be really helpful. I think you're going to like it. But today, I wanted to talk about something sort of just like a one-off. It's something I've already been talking about in a one-on-one context with lots of people in recent months. And frankly, it's something personally that I've thought a lot about for years. And so I want to just say right at the beginning that there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now. I know you know that. I want you to know that I am sorely aware of that fact myself. And we're going to talk about some of that stuff in the near future. We're going to address some of it, like we're actually going to get involved tangibly, and we've already started the process in some respects as we speak. But today, I wanted to acknowledge the many difficulties in the world, and yet then speak to something that I see so many of us carrying around regardless of what the headlines happen to say. Because some of you really need to hear it. And some of you, well, it might not only be good to hear it, but it'll be a refresher as you go talk to others that you love. In the beginning, God created humanity in God's own image. In the image of God, God created humans. Male and female, God created them. And God blessed them. From this ancient passage comes the doctrine of Imago Dei, or image of God. Of all that God made, human beings are mysteriously stamped with something essential to their Creator. It's part of who we are right out of the box, right out of the factory, before we ever do a single thing. If you're a human, and I sincerely hope that most of you tuned in right now are, you're an image bearer of the divine. You're priceless, you're cherished. Together, you and I are not only mammals and part of the earth, and we are, but we're also uniquely able to put something essential to who and what God is on display. There's really no other affirmation of humanity like this from antiquity. From what I understand, scholars agree that you're not going to find another sentiment like this in ancient literature. It's profound. Maybe not so much for us because we're familiar with it, but it's profound. No matter how you feel about you, no matter what anyone else thinks now, or even through history and the often barbaric treatment of human beings by other human beings, the enduring truth from way, way back is that you and I are inherently, untamperably special. So maybe take a second and put your hand on your heart and take a breath and remind yourself of this, that you and I, human beings, no matter who we are, what we have or don't have, what we look like or what we know or don't know, we bear equally the image of the eternal. It's profound. I quit college to sell vacuum cleaners. I explained to others that my reasoning was because I was making the very best money a guy like me could make, especially for my age, and I was selling the best product on the market. Well, then after a few years, I sold tires. In fact, they were great tires, the best tires in the industry. I made good money doing that. But then for a few months, I sold cars, nicest pre-owned cars in the tri-state. Met my wife there. She didn't buy a car from me. I still closed the deal. Then I became a mid-Ohio account rep for an ice cream company, the best ice cream you have ever tasted. Expensive, yes, but highest percentage of butterfat was why it was so expensive. Really incredible stuff. Then I worked in radio, best collection of stations in Dayton. If you were going to advertise your company, you want to advertise on my stations because of our consistently high Nielsen ratings. Then I got a job in this warehousing and labeling hardware and software company. Best product tracking products in the industry, superior to all of the lesser competitors. I actually drove by the facility a few years ago and was surprised to see one of those lesser competitors' logo was on the building now. I guess if you can't beat them, buy them. Somewhere in there, in all those years of taking whatever job, paid a little bit more, gave me something a little better to brag about, something I could tell others about, and therefore maybe capture their respect, their admiration, at least their attention. Somewhere in there, I started asking what my purpose was, which is a very normal question for a young anyone to ask. What's my purpose in this life? I mean, how many books and seminars and TV shows and sermons provide answers for exactly that? Or at least give you affordable instructions for going and finding it. Many of us ask it when we're young, and frankly, a lot of us keep asking it when we're less young. What is my purpose? What's my purpose in life? And the reason I've been thinking about it so much lately is because this Groundhog Day monotony that we're all going through in some measure, this work-life rut so many of us have felt stuck in, and not just recently, but especially the last year and a half of COVID, it's got us asking it all the more, I think. What in the world is the point of me? What is my purpose? So somewhere between my gigs, between radio and the warehousing hardware, I made an appointment at the church we attended to talk to our pastor about my life, because I had this nagging sense of discontent. It was growing unbearably strong. And he asked me at one point, well, what do you want to do? And I was sort of emotional at that moment, and so my guard was down, and I just sort of blurted out exactly what was true. I said, I just want to make things. It's all I've ever wanted to do is just create. So I don't know how you would have answered his question with your guard down, but that's how I answered it. It was raw, honest. I didn't care about any of the things I had been pursuing. I just wanted to make art, make stories, make music if I could. Well, he asked me how that fact was reflected in the work that I have been doing, jobs that I was taking, and I didn't have an answer because I could see, it was still a little foggy, but I could see in that moment that what I was doing was based on how I thought it would make people feel about me, make them feel positive about me, or at least get an income so I could buy things that made me a legitimate member of a successful society. But not long after that, I became a pastor for the best denomination, of course, the only ones who really understand the Bible, who really know God. And as a pastor, this is the most important job on earth, right? So I thought. And for many years, I assumed that I found my purpose. I found my calling. How could the alleged highest calling be other than my purpose? So I thought my big question had been answered because I got paid to work at a church. I thought since people respected what I did, I mean, gosh, they sort of had to now. And since people and family members kept telling me that what I was doing meant the world to them, well, I guess I found my purpose. Well, before you think that what I'm saying is all that's wrong, it was all a mistake, because I'm really not. I'm hoping that you'll hear an underlying truth, because it's the one that I missed, and I don't want you to miss it. Especially my younger siblings who happen to be listening right now, and especially maybe the parents of those younger siblings. And okay, so everybody who's listening right now, everybody else who's part of this society, I guess I'm hoping everybody's listening. What I was slow to learn, and what I'm still learning, was this. I thought I was trying to find my purpose, but I was doing so as someone who had no concept of his inherent worth. And it's like this for most of us. We, as a society, are obsessed with finding our purpose, but painfully few of us have ever discovered our own worth. And it makes us miserable. Because if we try and have purpose without knowing our worth, we'll very likely just sell ourselves out over and over and over for whatever makes us feel useful to others, or enviable to others, or secure with others. And many of us, we wake up one day having obtained much of, or maybe all of what we were after, and we feel even more unfulfilled than when we started. Because when you finally get that carrot at the end of that stick, it can be sort of devastating. Like, it's a carrot. I mean, now what? I've got a carrot. So here's the difficult, countercultural, counter everything we build our society and education and definitions of success on bottom line. Purpose is what you do. It's what you produce. Worth is who you are. And though I am still a long way off from believing this in my bones, I still know it's true. You and I already have the worth we keep trying to manufacture by trying to produce something others will like. I mean, think about it. A toaster's purpose is to take already baked bread and, cook it some more. I mean, that's what it does. That's its purpose. But its worth, well, that's a different sort of discussion. Its worth is based on what it's made of, or maybe who made it, or interestingly, who it belongs to. I mean, maybe you'd give me $3 for this at a garage sale, maybe. But if this same toaster once belonged to, I don't know, Abe Vigoda, well, the discussion about its value, its worth, would totally shift. Purpose is what you do. Worth, being fundamentally loved and valued, comes before and in spite of what you do. So it's not bad to seek purpose in our lives, but if you don't already understand that you're enough as you are, then what you might actually be seeking is not so much purpose, but applause, love. I mean, maybe you've noticed our society has a nasty bias for productivity, for achievement. And if you don't believe me, ask yourself, are there many worse things that you can accuse somebody of being than lazy? Are there many things that are worse than pausing or turning off? Like, when's the last time you took a vacation and didn't do any work on that vacation? You didn't even bring your computer. And if you did manage to not work on your vacation, great. But maybe you still posted vacation pictures on Instagram so that you could produce positive feedback from other people back home. I mean, don't feel judged. I'm in this with you. But we can't wake up to a thing if we refuse to see, if we continue to exempt ourselves from it. We are addicted to producing for others' approval because we so fundamentally believe that we're only as worthy as our recognized achievements. If no one's clapping, my worth is on the line. We want so desperately, so many of us want desperately to finally achieve the thing that will make us love ourselves and not feel like frauds. To find a purpose that gives others pause, that will make them love us and respect us and recognize us and celebrate us, include us in their number. And so when we get into this, we wake up every day with this unchallenged assumption that we're not enough yet. We're not enough as we are. We haven't done enough. You've got to draw more positive regard and respect in order to be a worthy person. And soon we have the carrot. The higher GPA, the acceptance letter, the job, the partner, the clothes, the car, the position, the body shape, the house, the platform, the influence, the degree, the resume, the account. And none of these are bad, but all of them and 1,000 more things are empty promises if you think that once you get them, you'll be happy and content and that you'll love yourself. If we don't do the work of coming to understand that you and I were actually born in a state of enoughness, then no matter what you and I achieve, we drive ourselves mad thinking that all we can ever do is get sort of close to contentment. Maybe next year. I mean, do you know how angry we become when we think that we're getting close to becoming worthy of love and respect and acceptance, but then somebody doesn't give us the job, the position, they don't respect us, they don't clap, they don't give us the raise, they don't give us affection. It's like, man, I was this close to being happy, and it's your fault that I'm not going to get to be. In fact, you'll be frustrated with everyone, with everybody, when you think that your value as a human being is in other people's hands, in other people's appraisal. Not to mention, you'll compare yourself constantly. You'll feel envy and bitterness about other people seeming to have what it takes to capture other people's positive regard. Conversely, People who understand that their value as an image bearer of the divine, their inherent worth as a member of humanity, before they ever do a thing or earn anyone else's positive attention, people who've done that work, those people tend to be more at peace. They don't have anxious demands on the world to tell them that they have worth. They don't get trapped in comparison and envy and the bitterness that comes with it, because Imago Dei isn't distributed more to some than others. They go into a space knowing that. So do the work. I've used this phrase now. Well, what is the work? It's simply this: quit school, quit your job, and take up painting. See you next week. No. I'm kidding. That's just it. We can continue to play our roles. Most of us in exactly the same roles we are currently in. Work roles, all the roles. Some of us will awaken to some things and major changes will follow, but most of us can stay right in the life that we currently have, playing the same roles. But we do so more and more free of the illusion that we're deriving worth from these roles, that we're making ourselves more lovable or more worthy or more pleasing to God or the ghosts of our disapproving pasts in these roles. We can play at life, liberated, unenmeshed, enjoying our work, enjoying the effects of our work on others and our world, without believing that if we were to stop doing it or somebody else does it better, that our very being has taken a hit. We can learn and shift and play a different role. Our worth and our awareness of our worth remains completely intact. I think then maybe we'll understand what Chris Jami meant when he said every job from the heart ultimately is of equal value. The nurse injects the syringe, the writer slides the pen, the farmer plows the dirt, the comedian draws the laughter. Monetary income is the perfect deceiver of a man's true worth. I mean, that's what we want, to work and act from our hearts, from who we really are, rather than to get trapped in doing it for somebody else's applause, their love, their acceptance. Now, if you're in high school, you're in college, you can know the difference now between pursuing something you care about and doing something that keeps other people's disappointment away. You can go into your life knowing everybody has to do things they don't want to do, but they don't have to do so thinking that if they can't get other people's approval or admiration or applause or rewards all the time, it doesn't mean you've failed. It probably just means you did you. Okay, so how do we do this? What's the work? Well, first, the work is in large part recognizing some things, waking up and recognizing these things over and over and over. Things like this. You are not being irresponsible for making time to do what you love. Maybe it's something artistic, maybe it's something in your garden, maybe it's something I would never think to list here, but it probably just popped up in your head. To take huge chunks of time and give yourself to that, it's not irresponsible. It's you living your life. And if you already believe that you're enough and have nothing else to prove to anyone, then you will find yourself more and more free to do what you actually love. Or this: things we enjoy are not made more legitimate by others enjoying them. I really have to remind myself of this a lot. If no one buys it, if no one ranks it highly, it never ends up on Spotify or Forbes or the New York Times bestseller list, or no one does an article about it, no one quotes it or shares it, no one notices it, but it comes from you, from your heart, like Chris Jami said, let's do it. You're enough. And so if you like it, and you're clear about what it means to like it, apart from other people liking it, do it. And this: you are not a bad person when you stand up to people who are hurtful or demeaning or abusive. Now, I know this one seems very different from the others, but it's not. Many of us who are trying to create our worth, which we already have, we put up with all kinds of crap because we feel like we, A, need people, even mean people, so we never stand up for ourselves, and B, we have such a habitually low view of ourselves that we actually come to believe it's arrogant to demand that jerks aim their jerkness away from us, away from other people. You will actually feel like you're doing something wrong by standing up for yourself until you realize Imago Dei is sacred, and that's you. So you're simply, kindly, but firmly reminding anyone who's forgotten that, hey, we're better than the objects of mistreatment, and that's not going to be tolerated. This isn't a license to become a jerk, to counter a jerk. And it's certainly not, I demand to talk to the manager because I've been inconvenienced energy. I'm not doing that. It's knowing that you don't have to live as one who gets walked on because it feels arrogant or even scary to say, I refuse to be forced under your feet. Connected to this, please know, speaking up when you want something doesn't mean you're entitled. Being entitled means you're entitled. Many of us, maybe especially in faith circles, many of us have come to believe that to have desires, personal desires, to have a sense of self is wrong, or at least dangerous. And so we disappear ourselves for Jesus. But we love we're supposed to love as we want to be loved. I mean, we're part of that equation. So speaking up for ourselves makes us better at addressing our own needs and the needs of others. And if you know your worth, you're doing the work of believing that, then you will find yourself saying what you mean, speaking up for what you want without ever being demanding. It'll just be true. Our purpose will shift throughout life. Our value won't. Once you believe that, you and I can ask, what's my purpose in this context, in this context, in this environment? It shifts, but our value doesn't. You know, who needs a hand? What's something I can do? What do I love doing? What am I good at that would bless someone else? Whose voice has been taken away, and maybe I can speak up for them? Who here in my home or my neighborhood or my school or my work, within my reach, who needs some love? See, once you understand your own immovable worth, your untamperable enoughness, then you can actually find the answer to your purpose in a given context simply by asking what love and joy and kindness look like where you're standing in your hands. You'll be free to love yourself and others. Our freedom always equals more love, or we're not free. And we should say too, obsessing over what's my purpose in life, it can be a way of not being very present. It's because it can be a fantasy state where we keep wondering if we're going to matter someday to someone. But while we're fantasizing, we're ignoring real life and the real people right next to us. Some of us, we've asked this question so much, we've missed our actual life. But you and I we can slow down and remember that we're enough already. We can be free now to play our roles, to play at this race, or not, whichever. Whatever it is, we know that our purpose will be right now, always, wherever we are, it'll always have us being loving and kind and just, because that's how we're made. So as I wrap up, a couple of notes on the nature of this work. You should know and start getting used to the idea that the nature of this work is, it's lifelong. And maybe that's the whole point. It's something that never really becomes natural. If you were born in this society, it's a lifelong journey of coming to believe deeply that you're enough and that you have never once added to your worth or made yourself more a part of the collective image bearing of the divine than you already are. But it takes a whole life. And it happens in the context of life, which is like trying to repair the plane while it's still in the air. But there's just no other way. It's lifelong, and it happens while we live, so buckle up. Also, it's frustratingly ironic, but it's more passive than active. The discipline of simply being apart from the impulse for doing is very challenging, but that's what it looks like. It's not a bunch of steps or books or seminars. It's slowly getting comfortable doing nothing and not believing the dreadful feeling of unfed action addiction is as real as it feels. It's passive. Doing what comes from us and not from the impulse to be found useful or interesting to somebody else, the constant movement, it's a really, really challenging part of the work. Also ironic for believers, this work is a journey of disbelieving. You have to go really deep and face some things and actively learn to disbelieve some accumulated stories and lies that have paved over your inherent worth and made you feel like you're supposed to constantly be a sales rep for your own value. You have to go deep. That takes some industrial strength disbelief to do that. And you may even have to distance yourself from other people who reinforce bad stories about your worthlessness, which I know is easier preached than done. So go slow, but don't dismiss this. And finally, the work here, as always, is communal. I mean, sure, it's personal to how you rediscover your own inherent value and worth apart from whatever you do or achieve, but you do this work with others to your right and left. I'm in it with you, lifelong, all trying to be still humans being rather than humans producing, with others whose beliefs are in large part disbeliefs, and we all together remind ourselves that we're not the sum total of other people's applause or approval. So this is why as a church we create opportunities to do groups together, to serve together, to talk together in the post-service Zoom chat, link in the description below. Why do we insist that our lived lives together are the ground of our actual faith and practice? Well, because Imago Dei isn't an isolated doctrine. It's a collaborative body reality. And that's been strained in the last few months, I know. That's all the more reason to lean into every opportunity you can to do this with others. And so, my friends, these are tough times, stacked on top of tough times, stacked on top of a lot of societal confusion about human worth in the first place, that it exists independently from anything that you've ever done, independent from the machines that you and I may or may not keep running. May we be liberated and fulfilled in rediscovering what has been true from our very origins. And in this freedom, may we play our roles, be who we are, and love one another exceedingly well, because after all, in the beginning, God created you and I in God's own image. In the image of God, God created us. Male and female, God created us all, and before we'd achieved or accomplished anything, God blessed us.
Thank you for joining us today, and welcome home. If you are in need of assistance during this crisis, please reach out at crosspoint.org/help.